You might be wondering why we need to, or you need to make your own bell housing adapter. People use transmissions that don't bolt to these engines from factory, and in a lot of cases companies don't make it. If it's not common, it's not something people do all the time, then you need to make your own. And what we're doing there essentially is making it so that we have the back half of a C7 Corvette, which in this it's a rear mount transmission with a torque tube, and then we are going to bolt that to a 2JZ engine, but that is why we need to make a bell housing adapter. So you may be wondering why the fuck we're doing this, because it is a Corvette and it is a 2J. The reason why is because it's fucking cool. This is a C7 Corvette driveline. We're gonna have paddle shifts or a sequential, whatever we want there, and it's gonna be one-off, world's first, and why not? So the first thing that you're going to want to do is figure out what your engine is and what the tranny is you want to use, whereas in our case I have the Viper V10 and Chelsea has the 2J. So what we need to do is figure out the measurements for all these bell housing bolts and where your center line is between those bolts. That is one of the key things to building your adapter, is making sure all of your center lines line up. So now that I've established what you need to do, the next question is, how can you do that? It depends on the engine or the transmission that you're running, because some engines there's already drawings online, there's a lot of information around, and same with transmissions as well. But in our case, we didn't have that. We did for the 2J, because there's a company, Fish Racing, they make adapters to different transmissions, but they were kind enough to send us the drawing for a 2J. Now the Viper engine, how I did that is I started out on paper. I connected all the lines, got all the measurements for that, and turned it eventually onto a CAD file. Next you want to do is get onto YouTube and subscribe to this channel. Okay, so here we are on a CAD file with the drawings. As you look, you can see here we have just a basic 2JZ CAD drawing. This is in 2D because that's all you need for a bell housing adapter. Now the key thing here is when you look at this drawing, in the middle of that circle is the center line. Now with that center line, that is where your pilot bearing goes, just centralizes everything. What we have here is the Corvette and a 2JZ bell housing bolt pattern combined with the two center lines matching. Now once you have that, you can look at it in a 3D format. So here we have it as a 1/2-inch piece of steel. And basically, once you have that done, if you know it's 100%, you can send it to a machine shop to get them to either cut it out, or if you want to be 100% sure, you can get it 3D printed and test it. Okay, so once you have your CAD files solidified, you can come to a 3D printer and print out your own bell housing adapter. This is perfect for testing before paying someone to cut it out of metal, which costs a lot more than getting this printed. Now, one thing is not everyone has a 3D printer or a printer this big. If you have one and it's not this big, you're gonna have to do what I did with the Viper. And with the Viper, because it's very big, and I guess I have a big printer here, I had to print it in 4 pieces. There's a lot of variations because the pieces all have to clip together perfectly. That's why you put these slots in your drawing. And I believe there's apps and programs for splicing stuff before printing it, but that's the next step, printing it. Alternatively, if you don't have access to someone with a 3D printer or a 3D printer yourself, there's a few ways to do it. You can either print it on paper and try and get it to the proper scale and then just mock it up, make sure it's right, or you find someone with a CNC router that can machine it out of wood for you. Everything just to keep the cost down before actually trying with your 1/2-inch steel, aluminum, whatever material you are going to use. Now, the reason why you want to try and do this step as cheap as you can is because you're not always going to get it right first time. And last thing you want to do is be paying to get it out of metal and have it not work. And even after you do all of this, you might still get it wrong with, like, my Viper one, for example. Everything on here is perfect except for this hole and this hole, which are the dowels for the Viper, which are the most important holes. And I think part of that reason is because The way that I spliced this wasn't 100%, it was kind of just a guesstimation. Now I'm paying for it. I'm gonna have to readjust these holes, try and print them accurately again, and then get this made out of 1/2-inch steel one more time. Okay, and when you get it right, it ends up like this. We have a 2JZ attached to a C7 Corvette driveline. So to wrap it up, just remember, measure none, cut till it fits.